Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP Fiori Launchpad training. In last class, we discussed about extensibility concept for SAP Fiori app. We also talked about different ways of extending SAP Fiori apps. Out of these four techniques, we have already seen so far the view extension and view modification technique. In today's session, I will show you how you can achieve other techniques of enhancements with multiple type of examples, and we will also look at SAP Fiori Cloud SDK. Before we get started, let's try to address one question which has come from an email received on last weekend. I would like to clarify this question into the class because it's very important for all of you to know this. Let me put this question across. So the question was, Anubhav, can we please make a copy of standard SAP Fiori app and then change it and finally deploy it as a custom Fiori app? This was the question. So can we make a copy of a standard Fiori app as we are already doing when you are exporting the Fiori app to the web IDE? At later point of time, you change this Fiori app, what you really made a copy into web IDE, and then deploy this as a Z program. On the other hand, we have an approach where we created an extension project from an existing project, which is not a copy of existing standard program like we saw in last session. The simple answer is no. Ideally, you should not do, or I think we should not do it. Why? I'll tell you the reason for that. Let's imagine this is SAP. SAP created a Fiori application. It's a Fiori app which SAP created, and they delivered this Fiori app to you. Okay. So now SAP created this Fiori app and they delivered it to you. Basically, you are SAP customers. So they delivered this Fiori app to you. This Fiori app is being delivered to you. Now this is SAP customer, or let's say we. Now, whenever there is a need for a change into this Fiori app, what somebody could easily do it is they would quickly check out this Fiori app into SAP Web IDE. So they basically just do a checkout. This Fiori app is available now in your SAP Web IDE. You can make a change to this Fiori app, which you have got it. Yeah, you can easily make a change to it. Of course, there's no problem into it. You can really do that. And then deploy this Fiori app back to the BAP system. This is possible, right? Completely, you have made a replica of that app as a custom app by making your own changes to it. What will be the biggest drawback of this approach? This is a standard Fiori app. You made a copy and you made the change into it to adapt to your need, and then you deployed it. Now, no software is bug free. This is what we all know, as we all belongs to this industry. Not a single software is a bug free. Imagine there is a bug in a standard Fiori app. Okay, let's imagine there is a bug in standard Fiori app. Now, when there is something blasting in a standard Fiori app, what happens is the moment you made a copy, this bug is also available in your Fiori app as well. And what you deployed, this bug is also reached to the deployed Fiori app as well. A very later phase of your implementation, you realize there is an important issue with, or there is a critical issue with the standard Fiori app, which is affecting a copy of that which you really made. You report an issue to SAP again. This issue, what you found out, now you go back and report to SAP. Okay. So you say, SAP, hello SAP, there is an issue in your delivered Fiori app. Can you please fix this issue for me? What SAP does, they will give you a support pack. They will give you a support pack which will kill this issue. Now you get a nice support pack from SAP, which is just a small note. I don't know what will be the format, but it may be typically a smart note, or it could be any small patch or a fix which SAP gives you back to fix this problem. Yeah, so SAP gave you this patch this to fix this problem. Now this issue has been fixed in standard Fiori app, but it did not really fix a copy which you made before the fix was available. So still your custom Fiori app is buggy. You still have the bug into it. What you will again do, make a copy of it, make the changes which you did last time again, and deploy it back to the system once again. And every bug fix which SAP does, you got to repeat this whole process. Am I right? You got to really repeat this whole process. Download the Fiori app which has got latest updates, make the changes as per your need and deploy it back to the system. How scalable this model is. Not at all scalable. Not at all scalable, guys. It's a complete rework. That's the reason the design is you never make a copy of a standard Fiori app. Instead, you just make an inheritance from standard Fiori app and create your custom enhancements or your extensibility project. So you got to create your extensibility project by inheriting the standard Fiori app. That's called extensibility. You never make a copy of it. You just create an inheritance and create an extensibility project, which is just an inheritance from standard. And these changes which you deployed in the server will work seamlessly with the latest version of standard Fiori app. So tomorrow, when you get a new patch or a new fix for an existing issue, it's automatically adopted because you are inheriting from it. A fix which has been done in the parent class automatically comes to the child class. That's why we have this way of implementing extensibility. Never do this mistake of making a copy to it and making a change to it. You will burn your fingers. You will mess up the whole design. And that's what exactly happens in OData service as well. If you have an OData service, we saw in the last class, we never ever make a copy of that to make a Z service. We always create an inheritance of the standard OData service and extend it as per our need. So any fix, any patch, anything which is a correction in standard is out of the box consumed by the child project. So you're just making your changes to fix this problem or to adapt as per your changes. Hope this is all clear to all of you. This question, a very important question. I really like this question which has been sent by one of you, and that's why it was important for me to discuss this question. So never ever make a copy of a standard Fiori app to make your custom Fiori app. That's not the right way. You should learn extensibility properly. Okay, let's move on to the next part now. Okay, there is one question here. Let me pick it up, the question. So let me put the question over here. If it is really a question, let me just put it here. So it says, if a future update is changing the view of a standard Fiori app, how it will be managed in our custom extended app? Of course it will be managed. The view name will not be changed. Okay, so if they are changing something in a view, they will not change the view name. And if you remember, for extensibility concept, we are using the view name. And I am sure SAP will also not disrupt the ID of the control. So you have a view, inside you have a control, let's say an object header. For that you have an ID. They will not change the name or the ID of the control. At the same time, they will also not change your extension point names. The extension point names, if you look at across versions, it remains same. So when you're enhancing a standard Fiori app by adding your own controls, it doesn't really change, guys. So SAP makes sure that they don't disrupt your code, but you need to also follow the extensibility guidelines, which anyways we have discussed. What are all the ways to do extensibility? You should never make a copy. Okay, so SAP make sure that they don't disrupt. They are very smart. Okay, but if you do a copy, you are actually inviting trouble for you. a, a multiple maintenance you're inviting. But if you're using proper extensibility concept, you are always safeguarded. Anything changes in this, you have everything adapted automatically right away. Yeah. So answer to this question is SAP make sure that they don't rename views, extension point names, and ID of control. This way they make sure that your extension points are not affected. Okay, that's what they do. Now let's move on and now look at SAP UI5 Cloud SDK. So some of you may not have a server access at all, but how can you still try extensibility concepts? You can actually experience SAP Fiori concepts, everything including Launchpad, Theme Designer, um, Fiori app extension points without knowledge of OData service. You can actually do it. You can become an end-to-end UI developer, guys. So the answer for that is SAP Fiori Cloud SDK. This is a very important concept which allows developers to do quick POCs, proof of concepts. So your company, your manager is curious about how the things will work with the standard Fiori apps. They really struggling little hard to assume how will the standard Fiori apps can be adopted as per their own needs. Can this requirement be really possible, not possible, maybe possible, without really knowing much more about it. So the business is more concerned about whether a requirement can be catered based on standard Fiori app. And as a developer, even you don't have a system in your company, you can still showcase the value add. How? SAP provides you a free trial for 30 days of Fiori Cloud SDK, which allows you to perform multiple tasks or use multiple things like theme designer, web IDE, prove your extension points, extensibility concept, and all most of the launchpad features. Okay, all this it allows you to prove to your manager, to your company. You can really showcase the value add of SAP Fiori using SAP Fiori Cloud SDK. So don't worry if you, even though you don't have a server access, guys, you can still use this SAP Fiori Cloud SDK to do almost everything related to UI. Okay, almost everything related to UI, not related to OData service, of course, but related to UI on standard Fiori app. That's our goal also. So we will be using SAP Fiori Cloud SDK today and exploring all the features along with the examples of multiple enhancement practices. So for today's session, I've got a very special document created. In this document, there are quite number of important requirements for a company. So what I assume that there is a company and this company would like to go for a Fiori implementation for SAP Fiori apps, and they really got to getting into this game. And now what they are really asking is they want to implement these particular, the highlighted yellow color requirements for the timesheet app, the managed timesheet app, and as well as the approved timesheet app. Okay, so these are all the requirements which a company want. So this is how you also look at the specification document which any company would have probably with a set of requirement. And basically it's a snapshot of one of such requirement which I've taken from a productive used case. Okay, so these two requirements are more talking in terms of timesheet uh, app as well as timesheet approval app. So we will be looking at these requirements, and trying to implement our proof of concepts on SAP Fiori Cloud SDK end to end. So if your manager says, will that be possible? Will this be? You can really, without any system, actually, you can prove these things that yes, it's possible. Okay. So let's get started with SAP Fiori Cloud SDK 30-day trial. It's very simple to access SAP Fiori trial SDK. So let me tell you the link. We all know about this. We have used it heavily into the first course as well. It's sapfioritrial.com. This is the place where you can access the experience of SAP Fiori app, including the Fiori Cloud SDK. So let's go for see it in action. So if you all remember, we used it to experience the user experience first by looking at a couple of apps which are available out of the box, just to talk to business and see how really these apps can really work. Yeah. So far, this is what was really our need for this. But now our target is to extend some of the standard Fiori apps. So let me show you the app first and look at the requirement at the same time, and then I'll show you how can you really use this SAP Fiori Cloud SDK to really make the changes. So you can see here the My Timesheet app. Yeah, My Timesheet app, where I can record my time for my company. This is the app which is available right now for users, as it is out of the box. And now my company have got certain requirements for me as a developer to really make the changes happen in this standard Fiori app to fit into my company needs. Let's look at these requirements side by side. Let's look at the first requirement. So you see WBS element, they do not want to manually enter this WBS element. They want them to only select the WBS element. So if you come down here and try to record a time for, let's say, on 14th of February with the maybe education leave, or maybe I want to go with an education leave here. Oh, sorry. With maybe I want to record a time for floating holiday and say create. And now if you see here, you have time assignment fields. So you can see there is a WBS element field available over here. And I can manually enter any wrong data as well into this. Yeah, my company don't want users to give an opportunity to enter any data here. Since the standard Fiori app allows me to enter manual data, my company don't want it. The requirement says WBS element do not want them to allow manually enter the data. Yeah, and they want them to only select from WBS element, which means only F4 should be available to enter the data. They should not be able to enter WBS element manually. That's the requirement. And same requirement applies to other fields like cost center. This should be defaulted from the personal record default. So we can probably default this with some number from person's record. User should not be able to adjust the default value, which means this should be completely a read-only field with some hard-coded data. And then coming to the third one, this should be defaulted from the work list. Do not want them to manually again change. So activity type and this cost center, these two properties should also be defaulted. I don't see the cost center in the standard Fiori app. Maybe there was a requirement. Sending cost center, they want to hard code, and activity type, they want to hard code from the work list. Do not want to manually enter. Yeah. So if you just come back here, user is choosing, I think something. This is something called time assignment, I guess. Yeah. And let's say I select this and say create. So if you come down the fields which we have here, so they don't want WBS element to be entered manually. At the same time, activity type field should be default from the work list. Do not want them to manually enter. So these values they want to hard code. They don't want the value to be entered by user manually. Even F4 should not be possible for these fields. So that's a standard Fiori app, and now the requirement says to adapt it as per the need. How can we really do this? How can we fulfill these requirements? So let's go back and first find out for this particular input field, how can we really make it only taking input from F4. It should not be allowed to enter data manually. How can we check it? So for that, again, we go back to our old days, SAP Fiori UI5 SDK, explored. Okay, let me search for SAP UI5 explored, and we'll go to the old days where we used to look at the documentation for these controls. And now let me check. There it is. And now here I will enter input field. That's what exactly it is on the screen. So input, no, it's an input field. Yeah, here it is. And now I look at the properties. So let's see, is there any property which allows me to control that user cannot really enter data from typing in? Instead, they should only and only enter data by choosing F4. Anybody, do you see any property here which controls, which restricts user to not enter data manually, but only allow data through the F4 help only? Okay, this one, value help only, probably yes, it's a boolean property, and you see if it is set to true, direct test input is disabled and the control will trigger the event this for all the users interactions, which means user will not be able to enter the data manually, but only F4 will be available. We can also try it out. You remember the old days of JavaScript? We can try these things right away into the browser console. So if you can come here, let's right click on this control and say inspect the element. So one way is you can show it to your manager quickly without even making a change, or you can just come here, take this control ID, copy this ID, go to console. Can anybody tell me if I want to access object of a UI5 control, what API I'm going to use? Guys from the first course, perfect answer Shri, it's SAP.UI from .getCore.by ID, and I just put in here to get the object of this guy. So just say var OINP equals to this. I got an object. Oops, I didn't really get it. I did a mistake. It should be getCore API. It's a API call. Press enter, and now I have got my object here. O input. Oops. No, it's not coming. There's some problem. This is the ID. I think the ID is incorrect. Inner was the ID for the input tag. We want the ID for the div tag, guys. This is the ID for the div tag. And let's try now. Here is your control object. It's available. Now let's use that API value help only. So O input dot set value help only to true. Yeah, it's a boolean property. Set it to true. Close this, and now come, and you can see I am able to enter the data over these two fields, but I actually control this one. So let me try to click on this guy here to just enter the data, and see, the moment I click, actually it's really doing an F4, guys, automatically, rather than really allowing me to edit or getting me the cursor on the field. So that's how you can also make sure before even making a change, technically speaking, before making a change, you can make sure that this API suits your purpose. So this is how you can really make the change, right away. So the moment your manager comes to your desk and asks you something, you can really make the changes on the live UI and show them, is this what you're looking for? He says, oh my God, yeah, they're very good. Then you say, okay, fine, I'll do this change. And then you got to go for extensibility concept to really change this app permanently and make an extension project out of it, and then deploy that extension project into the SAP system and get the access to the user through the launchpad. That would be an end-to-end scenario. So let's fulfill this requirement number 1. Yeah, now also look at the other requirement. They want to also default the cost center and also default the activity type. So you need to disable this field from F4 as well as really taking the input, but we need to see, can we somehow get to know the cost center value or the activity type value which is there for the user. Yeah, we don't know that. We don't know which activity type is available for this user. So if you really do an F4, you see there are different types of activity types, but I want to hard code some activity type, because user who is using this software may not be working in all the departments. Let's say he's just working in construction. Okay, he's involved in warehouse construction, so the activity type for him will be this. He cannot really do a software development because his expertise is into the construction area. He cannot develop a software, guys. So obviously he cannot record the time for software development. He should be only able to hard code or basically we should hard code the activity type as warehouse construction activity, not the software development. He cannot really do software development. So we need to get the data from the OData service and look at, you know, how the OData service is behaving in this case for this user. Yeah, that's something which is important. And then accordingly we should hard code the activity type. Okay, so maybe I'll just hard code with some value right now. I'll not really dig into the OData service to find out what activity this guy must belong to. That is something which you can also do it, but I would like to hard code this value right now to, you know, repair hours maybe. Yeah, and disable this field completely for any input. That's what we will be doing. So I will be you know, copying this should be my hard coded data for the field all the time when I run this app, and there should not be any error. User should not be also able to edit this field. That's my requirement. Yeah, so let's go back and try to do extension point or extensibility project for this timesheet app for these two fields at this point of time. I don't see the cost center field here, but if it would have been there, I would have disabled it, and also from OData service I would have read, you know, by calling the person number, giving the personal number record and getting the cost center for this guy from the OData service, and would have hard coded that as well into this. Yeah, let's go back and finish these two requirements first. So what I do is I come back to um, my app. Where is it? Here it is, and click on this button on the top, get started. Click on this button, and now you will be taken to another section where you can see different options. So we will be going for extension and development of SAP Fiori apps. So let's get started. So this is a 30-day trial for you. You can register on this website and you'll get a 30-day trial, guys, for this. So let me just enter my email ID and password for my trial account, and you can see it's taking me to another website over here, free of cost for 30 days to all of us. We can really do quick POCs by understanding this SDK. Yeah, really powerful. No access for any server required to practice SAP Fiori UI changes. Of course, if you have certain requirements like reading the info records, reading some more information, changing OData service, you need a backend. But here, just for showing the Fiori changes, you really don't need a backend. Okay, so now we are again back here on this screen where you can see all the apps, but we got to click on this button here and say develop the apps. Click on develop apps, and now you can choose which app you want to really make changes to. So I want to change in my timesheet app, so let's search for timesheet, my timesheet app. I choose this. So you can really do the quick POCs and showcase the value out of it to your company. Yeah, without any servers. Launch SAP Web IDE. So there's clearly a Web IDE available. You don't need to really install anything. It's available completely on fly into the cloud. So you can just have the same experience like we had with the Web IDE personal edition into the cloud as well. So here you can see it's loading. But one thing to be very sure, guys, be very careful about it. The app what you are accessing here, okay, it may not be compatible to the version of your server. So if I just come back to SAPfioritrial.com, the app which I'm using here, okay, the timesheet app which I was showing you, it may not be completely compatible with your company version of the Fiori app. So never try to deploy what you're modifying here to your SAP company server. Never do that, because the app which you see here might have been the latest version, but the app which you have in your company server may be the lower version. So this is just to understand the concepts I'm taking you through, and also to showcase the value of SAP Fiori and do quick POCs. You can really use this stuff completely demo purpose, not for productive uses. Never deploy these apps into your productive system, in your productive SAP system, because these apps might have been built with the latest version with the newest code, but the one which you have in your system, your company, it may be on different versions and different supports or different support packs. Yeah, So never try to deploy this directly into your company servers. You can also check it out which UI5 version was used to build this app um, as a framework. So you can press Control, Alt, Shift and P. P as in Pennsylvania, and you will get this nice pop-up here where you can see which is the UI5 version this app was built on. It was on 1.28.35. Okay, and when was it last changed? So this was the date when it was built, okay, last. So you can actually see these information, sometimes really helpful informations. You can see uh, all the services, all the library uses, which are all the libraries in CSS. It's really loading. You can see UI layout, unified, all these libraries. It's loading the modules, and then these are all the controllers, different component JS, I18N. These are all the files. It's really loading the controllers, the views. These are all the modules included in this project. And also for debugging, you can click on this option and say close. It will re-download all the source code to your browser from the servers. Yeah, so it will take a lot of time, so you can then also debug this particular code base. It's a nice tool. So click on close. So we now observed it's on 1.28, so you just be very sure that on which version it was really built on. Yeah, this is how you can check it. Control Alt Shift P. Okay, that's a shortcut to look at. Now coming back, you can see it's now say asking you that would you like to create an extension project. I would say yes, this should be the name, and I will say also import the actual SAP project from where it's doing inheritance. Okay, just import that as well. I click on OK, and now it will launch the web IDE for me. It's downloading the main application, standard SAP application, as a copy to my web IDE, and also it's creating an extension project for me out of the box. So what it does is it creates the inheritance from the standard SAP project, and then you can really start changing it. So you can see it has got both the applications, one which is a standard SAP application. You saw this was also there in the server, which we were looking at in the last class, similar to that, and the one which is an extended project. It's just inheritance. So you remember we talked about it, how can it make sure that which is the parent project. So this first block of code is controlling that it's inheritance from HCM timesheet app. Yeah, this is the main component module path, where which is the parent class for it, okay, which is the super class. Now if you run it as it is, it will give you the same output as the standard SAP project was giving, because really we did not made any change much to it, right? So if I just say run this, what it is going to do is just going to run this app into another session. Now it's saying just that if at all you have a pop-up blocker which is blocking to open another page, you can disable this pop-up blocker. So I just do this on the top. You can see I have a pop-up blocker. So I click on this and say continue, always allow pop-ups from this, say done, and now just click again and say run. It will just run this app. Since it's inheriting from parent project, which is standard SAP project, it gives you the same response, same look and feel of a standard SAP Fiori app. That's what it is going to do for you, right? So let's say it's running now. You can see it's slowly running in. Let's also look at the code base here. So what it is doing is it's just loading the parent project. This is the part it's doing. And now here in this you can see in this section it's actually the section for enhancement, all the enhancement things what you really want to do. You remember last class we also discussed about connecting it to a custom OData service. We will not discuss that here because we don't have a custom OData service in this case. We are more focusing on UI changes today. Yeah, so based on the needs, and of course the example which we've got here is all about UI changes, nothing related to as such the changes in the service side for POC. So let's come back. This is the app. You can see the response. It's absolutely same as the standard SAP Fiori app now, but now time for modification. Okay, so let's go for modification. So what we're going to do is select the day, what date we want to record the time on. So maybe what I will do is I will just go to next, and now I will choose a day. So let's say 21st is when I want to record the time for, and I choose here 6 hours uh, floating holiday and say create, and it takes me to the next screen. I don't know right now which view it is. Okay, I really don't know which view it is right now. Okay, now one thing also you observed it, when it comes to this view, by default this particular panel or this particular frame is in collapsed mode. We want it to open in expanded mode by default. So such changes also you can really do this using extension projects. Yeah. So now what was the first requirement is to enable or to disable the data inputs for this WBS element, and also make activity type as a read only field, which also should not be able to enter the data from F4, but for WBS element on the other side should be able to take the data from F4. Yeah. So how can we achieve this? Come back, select your project, go to tools and say extensibility pane. So that now the people who are using Eclipse, this is something which is not possible in Eclipse. If your requirement is to purely work with custom Fiori apps, guys, yeah, or basically to enhance standard Fiori apps delivered by SAP, you should always go with Web IDE. Don't go with Eclipse. And if your requirement is to build an end-to-end solution for a cloud-based application, go with Eclipse, because Eclipse gives you support for Maven, which is very important and an important build tool, which can package your app to a var file, which can also build your Java artifacts along with their dependencies, and also download the dependencies. So Maven is available only with Eclipse, but on the other side, if you purely want to extend a standard Fiori app, go with SAP Web IDE. Okay, so you can also this is in the preview mode, so I can just choose a day, and choose create. It takes me to the next screen. Yeah, and now here you can see the block is already collapsed. I expand it, and now I want to go and make a change to this guy WBS element. So select here the extensibility mode, and now you got to choose the component or the input field which you really have it here, which you want to change. So select this WBS element. Okay, and it has selected the entire block. Now you can see on the right, manual accounting infos. Expand this and you have a layout, and you see there's an extension point as well here. So if you want to enhance this with new input fields, you can really do that. We will see in a short while, guys, this thing as well. Though it's not part of requirement, I would like to show that also in a shorter while to you. But now we expand this and try to find out the position for all our input fields which we have here. So let's see if I can find this guy. Really, this is my view, just checking it out. Which is the control? Where's this control? Not really sure. Where is this whole block? Okay, now I really cannot find this, guys. If you really see, the input field is directly not available here. Now this may be also a very curious case. You can see that really this input field is not available. Yeah. So how does these fields are built then? These fields are built dynamically. So what SAP have also done in this particular app only, I'm saying what they've done is they've built these fields dynamically. So basically what they do is they query the server, and from the server they are loading all the input fields from the backend, and then they are really creating these fields. So maybe then we will go with right now for some other case. So maybe I select this one. You can see the text area, and I want to make, or maybe this one, the work list, and I want to make this field only to take the data from the F4, not from the text. We will also see, of course, this example of changing WBS element, but this will be through pure coding. We need to do pure coding with our knowledge. But here in this one, you can see we can easily do it because the control is available, time assignment. Now what I do is I say extend and just say hide control. So though I'm doing hide control, it will generate the code to make the visibility property to false. So click on hide control, and now it is generating the code automatically into the child component. Now you see I just choose open extension code, and you can see it has created all the code what we wrote in the last class manually. So it's saying view modification, since it's a change of existing views control properties, which view you are really want to change, which is the control you want to change, and what property you want to change. So instead of visible property, now I will go with the option value help only. I think this was the right property name. Let me check it out once again. It's value help only property, and I want to make the value to true. Save this. We are done. Let's run this application one more time over here. So this time, for at least for this work list field, you will see the free input will not be allowed. Instead, user will have to, the moment user choose this, an F4 will open. See, now a free input is not allowed for this field. So that's how exactly something of this sort you probably got to do for the fields which you have right away part of your component, right away part of your views. Now the cases where you don't have these things built over here, you got to see how these fields are coming then. So you got to analyze the code, how system is building these fields. So they are basically, they have a nice code. I will show you that code in a shorter while, that they are really building these fields dynamically, because I don't find a footprint of these fields in Web IDE in extensibility pane. So if I just go back to extensibility pane, I actually cannot find these fields as their footprint into the system, into the view directly as a fields. Okay, like we saw, there was an entry for the input field which was for favorites, but there are no entries, individual entries for this block. This whole block is constructed dynamically, just like dynamic screen programming. So they're really building these fields dynamically, at least in case of this app. So I will show you how to do the fulfill the requirements, especially for these kind of, this is a completely unique requirement now. So now I'll also quickly switch to extensibility mode and look at which block is this. So this block is your accounting infos block, yeah, and accounting info panel. So we should find some code in the controller of this view S31, S31, where we will see they are building it. So we basically need to overwrite the controller of S31 view to build it. So let's see controllers, and you can see here S31, and you can see also uh, there are hooks where you can really make the changes. ext hook change header footer options, and ext hook change object before post. So before you really submit the data, if you want to do some changes, you can do it in this hook method, or if you want to change some header footer options, you can do it in this method. But I want to, in this case, replace this whole controller with my own controller. Yeah, so what I select is this controller now, and say extend this controller by making a copy of this controller. So I choose second option, extend with copy of original controller, choose this option, and now it will again regenerate all the code in your component.js and makes a copy of that controller which is original delivered by SAP with your own change. Click on extensibility code, and you see what it has got this time is one controller got created, which is your custom controller, and at the same time you will see here in the component.js, it has got a new option for controller extensions. It's saying I am replacing the controller, this one, with completely with this controller now. Okay, custom controller. Yeah, so you see it's replacing the it's a controller, actual controller with custom controller now. So let's go to this custom controller and see where exactly they are really creating these fields dynamically. Now we got to be a little careful here to see how they are really creating. Need to look into deep and understand how they are really building these fields, what we saw there. But to also make the changes, guys, you need to also make a view extension basically, or maybe make a complete replacement of existing view. So that also we will do it now, because I promised you I'll show you the last two cases. So what we'll also do is we will completely replace the existing view which we have here with the new view. Okay, because that is what also we want. So I come back and choose select the project tool, the extensibility pane, and replace the S31 view with a custom view completely. So I come here and choose this view S31, and now what I will do is I'll just also replace this view by making the original copy of the code. Okay, so let's do this as well. It's your choice. I mean, you can still live with without it, but just wanted to show you that this is also possible. So S31 custom is the custom view that replaces the original view. Any future changes to S31 will not be reflected. So this is a very critical case. Now suppose SAP has enhanced the S31 and they delivered you some new features. In that case, you will not get those features which SAP delivered you. Yeah, because you are replacing it completely. So I say, yeah, fine, no problem. Especially replacement is always should be the last option, guys. Be the controller replacement or the view replacement. Please try to avoid these replacement options, because if you replace them, they are replaced by your code and you are then the owner. And if any fix, anything which SAP makes to it, a new patch or a new update, you anyways you replaced it. You made a copy and replaced it. Yeah, so you will be isolated from such bug fixes. But it's a conscious decision which you really want to make, because standard is what is not supporting your need. That's why. Yeah, standard is what not supporting your need. So you can see right now we just made a replacement, and also we got this complete controller, custom controller code over here for this view. Now what I'm gonna do is, okay, I just come back and you can see there's this replacement code which is also created for this view. Yeah, this is the replacement code which is created for the, actually in this requirement you don't need to replace it. So let me roll it back. It's your choice if you want to do it. I just wanted to show you the option, but in this requirement you don't need to replace. So I just roll it back and delete this custom view. We just need a change in the controller, so I just replace the controller right now. Now I go into this custom controller and uncomment this whole code right now. So there is lot of code which is been taken from the parent controller completely, and we want to uncomment this entire piece of code. So I just do select everything, right click and say toggle the block comments, toggle the line comments, sorry. Oops, looks like it will not help me. Maybe I just replace this whole string of double slash with empty. Let me just see if I can replace with blank. Hmm? Mhm. Okay, I'm not able to replace, guys. Once again. Copy this, search for it. Why it's not able to find? Some problem. Let's see if I can just replace it. Yeah, I am able to replace. Basically, I remove the comment, and now this is the same code what we have in the parent controller. So let's save this, and there are a couple of reds. So let's see why these are reds. And I think this is some mistake which I did. Because of that, it's a red over there. Some terrible mistake, guys. I don't know why the code is completely distorted. There is some, you can see all the lines which were there earlier are gone completely. So maybe I don't save these changes. I close this. This is the problem with WebIDE. There are still issues with WebIDE. It's not really too stable. So maybe just close it and reopen. Now it's gone completely. Something is bad. So maybe I delete this, and I also delete this again, and maybe again try it to make a copy. So select it, say tools, extensibility pane, and we will make a copy again. We will replace it. So S31 is my controller which I want to replace. Select the controller and say extend with a copy of original controller. It's generating the code, and say open extension. See, there are a lot of errors in WebIDE like this. You don't know what to do, and this comes from nowhere. So that's a stability issue you will see. Now I come back to controller, you can see the code is available once again. Yeah, entire code is available. So now I just select only the code from here till the bottom to decomment this entire piece of code. A lot of lines of code which we are uncommenting. So we're replacing the whole controller with SAP delivered controller in this case, because this requirement is not fulfilling by just extensions. Oops. What is this? It's not decommenting. Sometime back it did. Let me try. Right click, toggle line comments. Yeah, finally you can see I'm able to toggle the line comments, and now the code is available. Just to make sure everything goes smooth, any replacement what we did goes smooth, we will execute it one more time. Yeah, so just select it one more time and say run to make sure that what copy has been made now, it's well replaced, uh, it's well working with the replacement, so that you can avoid any kind of issues, okay, syntax issue or be the typos. So you can see now the replacement is done, and you can see it's functioning as well, whatever requirement we are really putting in. And you see the moment I replace, guys, it has got lot more fields now in here. So it has got lot more fields, WBS elements, and multiple things have come in because of the replacement now. Yeah, so now we can really control it, lot of things, we can hide couple of things, whatever we like. So the moment you made a copy, it has got the actual code now, and you can really make the changes as per your need. So let's look at how this particular area it's really building. So right click here, go to inspect, and look at the ID of this control, what ID has been assigned to this time assignment block. So it's a time assignment block, and it's something called accounting info panel. Okay, accounting info panel. So let's come here and look for some method where they may be setting up this accounting info panel fields. So where are they initializing it into the standard code? We got to check that. So let me just see. You can see by ID getting the accounting info panel, guys, they are doing it here. But let me also see how they are actually getting the list of all the fields over here. That's what my main intention. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to check how are they really building these fields dynamically. So that's our main intention. Yeah, so maybe let me check. They must be, we can also look at the view, how the view has been designed. So if I come to the S31 view, you will see accounting info panel. Where is that panel? Oops, search is also not working in web IDE. Maybe I just check this accounting info panel. This is what I'm looking for. Here it is. You can see this is the panel, and it has got a layout now. In this layout they are having form containers, and then you can see there is an extension point to add your own fields, of course. And in this they are creating a label. You see there's a label, accounting info model name, and then there is a fields, accounting info for info model value help. Yeah, so they are actually, there are a lot of properties, see name property. So they're dynamically creating these fields. So there is an accounting info model, which is a data model. From this data model, these fields are built, these label and fields are built recursively by binding. Okay, so this accounting info model is actually the model which is used, and with that these fields are being built. So what you can really do it, find out about this model, where this model is being built in the controller. Okay, and of course if you really see in the view, you don't find actually in the view a property called value help only. Yeah, show value help, it is there, but value help only field is not there. That's the reason you should also extend the field. Okay, so if I just come back to this, first of all we need to find about this accounting info model, where are they creating it. So you can see here, this is where clean up block, clean up back. So they're cleaning it up here, but how are they really building it? So you see here, I see some code, get value help collection. This method, they are saying get model, accounting help model, and they may be writing some logic here. With this, they may be building these dynamic fields. So we got to really check this. How are they really building these fields? Yeah. So you see field name, value help state text. Actually, they are getting it. I need to find a place where they are setting this data. Okay. So let me just see if I can find a place where they are setting this data. They're really building this model or they're setting this data. That's what I need. Set model. Here I can see they are setting the model. So you can see S profile fields, these properties, and see these properties, they are really setting it up into a collection. So in this method, which method is this? Get profile fields. So this method, they are actually dynamically building the fields. Okay. They're dynamically building the fields in this particular method. So they are getting this D. What is this D? They're getting from some server, I guess, this D dot length. What is this D variable? Let me just search D variable. So get profile fields, they're calling OData service and asking OData service to get the list of all the profile fields. They're looping over profile fields, and based on the dynamic values coming from the OData service, they are actually deciding on properties of every field. See, yeah. And then finally pushing these fields to this collection, and with this collection they are building their data model. So these fields are being built dynamically, the last set of fields. So what I'm going to do now is I will add one more property here to this particular data model. Okay, and that property will be comma value help only, and I make it default to false. Save this. So what I did now, guys, in this data model, accounting info model, which is creating dynamically the fields on the view, I have introduced a new property value help only. And now I also, and since this property is not binded to these panel fields, now we need to also replace the whole view. Yeah, we need to also replace the whole view in this case. So let's go to extensibility. Now there's a need to replace the view, because this property value help only is not at all used in the standard view. Standard view is not using this property anywhere for creating the fields. We got to use it. So let's right click, sorry, go to tools and extensibility pane. Now we got to replace the view, guys. Okay, let's replace the view. So S31, and I will just, okay, say okay, select this S31, and now we got to replace the view as well. Extend, replace the view by copying the original view. See, multiple errors in WebID, really not so stable, or maybe I'm doing it too fast. But yeah, we got to try this again. So we are now making a copy of the view also. So let's say okay, fine. Now it has got a view and it has got a controller also. Now, especially for this view, which is a custom view now created, you got to see what will be the controller name. So you can see the controller name for this view is still the old controller. Okay, still the old controller, so it has to be replaced. So if you come to your component JS, you can see the settings here for your view. So this view is replaced by this view, but the new view which you have got, okay, the new view which you have got has to use this custom controller. So let's copy the path of the complete custom controller and put that as part of controller of this custom view. This is one important aspect. So now view, here you got to put the part. HCM my timesheet extension project view folder. This should be the controller we should be used for this view. Yeah, you don't need now this part here where you're replacing the controller with your custom controller. This part is not required right now, because now you've got your custom view which is using your custom controller. Save this. Come to the custom controller. In this custom controller, you can see you have a value help only field for which you are by default set it to false, and just create this binding in the custom view now. So come to the custom view where we are creating dynamic fields. So Here we are creating dynamic fields. See, all the input fields dynamically we are creating. It's all coding change. You should know the UI5 framework, UI5 development. And now I say value help only equals to, we say double quotes, and just put this accounting info model, copy this whole part, and then just put value help only. The data value, the property, or just to make you understand, what I'll do is I just name it as Joker, a property, whatever you like, it's up to your choice. And I'm binding this value help only with Joker. So whatever value is there in Joker will be assigned to this value help only property. Save this, we are done. So we observed that these fields are being built dynamically by creating a data model, local JSON data model. With that, these fields have been built in one of the method. In this loop where it's pushing the data, we've created a new property called Joker, and this we have connected with our custom view. Let's look at it. What will be the result? The result is going to be every field will change. Every field will only become inputable from value help only. Okay, because we have defaulted the value to false for Joker property. Let's test it first. Let's test it. So I close this and select our extension project and run it once again. So every dynamic field which is being built now, guys, will be using only and only an F4 input. So maybe push method is creating the array of objects for JSON model. So push method is creating, so this is actually profile fields is a collection, it's a table, and push method is pushing these records. It's a JSON building. We're building a JSON here. Basically SAP has built a JSON here for all the fields which needs to be created on the screen, and this with this they created a accounting info model, yeah, a data model, local data model. Click on create. Maybe we got to select the date. So let's choose a date 24, create. I didn't select anything. I got to select it. Looks like there is an issue now. Press F12. Looks like there is a bug. Yes, you can see O application implementation of undefined. Cannot read property this of undefined in this custom controller. Let me check this. O application implementation is undefined. Why it's giving me this error in the custom controller? If I just check it, scroll it till the top, it's initializing this .o application. It's using something called O application facade. Let's see what is this O application facade. It must be coming from top. There must be something coming from top. So this is a typical custom controller code, guys. We got to analyze this, why it's failing. There's some problem with this application facade. So let me check from where this application facade is coming. Scaffolding template. This is initialization code for the controller. So it's unable to get this application facade object. Custom controller cannot read this property. Okay, it's trying to get the resource bundle from this, but it's unable to get, because I think this application facade is itself doesn't got initialized. Application object is there, but this facade is not there, guys. There is some problem. Maybe I am not using the right way of doing it. But it is possible to actually access every object. No, it's not an error in the view, guys. What is happening is from the view, it's trying to initialize the controller, because the moment view object gets created, controller object also gets created. Yeah. So you see what happened is it called the view, and from there it's calling the controller, and it's reached to the custom controller. In init method of custom controller, it's failing. So let me check once again. So in initialize method, where is this initialize called? Let me check. So you got to trace it back. So here is, you see, initialize method is called here, and in this initialize method there is a problem, and it's here. And now it's saying application facade application implementation it has got, and then this application facade application implementation get resources get bundle. It's unable to find this application implementation object. There is some problem with that. I did not made a change in original controller yet. Yes, of course, I made a change in the subcontroller which I inherited. I did not touch the original controller yet, but it's failing here. There is some problem. Application implementation. There is some problem with it. It's unable to get this object. Maybe we will try to debug this initialize method. Let's see. I press F12 and go to sources, and we go to the control O, and we'll say s31.controller custom controller.js, and we go to this initialize method in here. Let's see, here is the initialize method. Let's try it out now. I just refresh the page. So what happens is the standard controller got completely copied here, and because of that it's causing the problem. So what happened is it has copied the entire standard controller, and now these objects what is being referenced in standard controller are not really meeting our need. So when I press F10 now, it's failing actually. It's not working. So what I will do probably is I only and only provide a replacement of the method where we made the change. In which method we made the change? Let me check. Yeah, here we made the change. We made a joker here. Yeah. So what I will do is I only and only provide the method implementation for get profile fields. So what it does is, since in the parent controller, okay, in the parent custom controller it has the same method, and in the my custom controller it has the same method name, it will override the functionality. Rest of the methods I will remain commented. Okay, rest of the method let it take from the base class. I will not touch them. So let me remove all the other methods. I will remove all the other methods completely. I comment this piece of code, and only I reuse the method which is there for building the fields. Okay, which is get profile fields method. Only this method I am keeping it alive, which is a replacement of the existing method. So only this method I'm keeping alive, removing all the methods. Let me comment out. So what happens with this? It will reuse the methods which are there in the parent class, which is the super class custom, the actual controller delivered by SAP, but it will only override the method which I have written here. Yeah, so it will override the method which I've written here. So let's see what happens. Save this and try one more time. Come back and refresh the page. Let's see what happens. And voila, you see it's working now. And if you expand this block, you see in this block there is nothing, which means we again did something wrong. Because of that there is nothing coming. Maybe I'll check this. You can see there is a problem for matter function pass date YYYDD not found. So there is a problem in the formatter function parse date YYYYMMDD not found. Yeah. So we got to check this. Fallback to component load, application container, no component handle available. Okay, I don't know. So many weird problems, but let's go and check. Let me check. So there is a formatter which we are using. I think that is not available here. So let me check. So here there is a formatter, guys, which is used but it's not available. That's what it's saying. I need to check this. Give me a second. Okay, I mean, looks like I need to try this out, guys, offline before I really show it to you, this whole case, because there are a lot of dependent methods which are now uh, not being found in this. I think it should work still, but just let me check. So we replace this whole, only this over, we have overwritten this method. Maybe what I will do right now is I'll just comment out this controller also, so that it uses the base controller. I save this and I will tell, go back on the top. Yeah, so we are saying SAPui controller, this, fine, cool, no problem. So right now I will maybe not show this example, but instead I have just made a replacement of the custom view. I will not use this controller. Let me reuse the standard controller, guys. But in the view replacement here, for every input field which is being built dynamically, I am just directly assigning the value to false. So what will happen, all the input fields which we have in that block at the bottom will be only F4 input only right now. Maybe I will check it out, the changes for the controller tomorrow, and show you how exactly, because I need to really look at the pinpoints, analyze this controller, and then come back to you with the solution. How can you make one exact field to be able to input from only F4 rather than all the fields? So right now I replace the complete view with the custom view and make an additional property called value help only equal to false. Fine, only this part I'm doing. So let's come back, and because it's really behaving a little weird, so I got to check and analyze this controller, and I run this. And now you can see we got the data. So I select the day and create the time. Again, it's really got some problem. Let's press F12. Okay, it's saying I cannot load this controller now. It's saying it cannot really load this controller because I think the controller belongs to parent. So we got to change the controller once again in web IDE. So here we come, and you see it's still referring to the extension controller. So I should just change it to not extension, my timesheet app, not the extension project, and to the parent controller actually. Let's come, refresh. Okay, it's unable to load it now. We got to get the complete namespace one more time for this one. S31 view. What's the name of the controller? It's only this much. In the custom, I need to put that in the custom view. Save this, come back and refresh. So it was unable to load the the standard SAP controller. And now you can see it's loading up the standard one as well, and we got all the blocks. But now you can see still I am able to do an F4 able to type the values, but I don't see it's really working. So let me go back and check the custom view and just come down and look at the field value help only. This is one change and I made it false for all the fields over here. What is the problem then? Why it is not able to reflect? For all the input fields, I hard coded value help only to false.
It should be true.
Yes, it should be true. Save this, come back and refresh. So right now for all the fields, we are actually making it to true, guys. And let's try this time. Yes, you're right. And you can see all the input fields right now. What I click on has become read, basically only input field. Um, basically, you can enter the data from F4. You cannot really change these fields. So this was one requirement, but it was only for WBS element, not for other fields. But actually, I am not able to show you a working case where I need to change this custom controller, and this custom controller we need to really tweak the method at certain points, which I will also try to look at and maybe show you this case tomorrow. And then exactly for that point we will make the change and we will see how will it adapt it, because it's pure dynamic code right now in this case. So I need to look into this controller in deep dive and understand the behavior of this controller, and I'm sure it's in that method which we were really changing. So the method which we were really changing was this one, get profile, get profile fields. In this method we got to do some changes, because of that it will work. But right now I can also show you by changing it the parent. Ideally I should not change the parent controller code. This is standard SAP code, but maybe we can just try this, because when I'm doing inheritance it's really not working out well. The piece is not connecting well. So maybe I right now go here and just edit the method where we really added this new field joker. Yeah, so let me do that. So get profile fields is the method of the standard controller, and what I will do is I will add a new field here called joker equals to true. Yeah, I added a new field now called joker equals to true, and let's do the binding in our custom view now. This is not allowed, guys. I should not change the standard, but just to prove that it will work in tandem with the model which we have, accounting model, it will work. So let me just do it here and bind it with the joker. Save this, and now still it should behave the same, because we are by default hard coded the value for all the fields for joker to true. So let's come back, refresh. So you will see all the fields down there which are being created dynamically will only work with F4. Okay, that's the standard behavior. So oops, it's not working, some problem again, which means this is not the right method. So maybe guys, give me some time. I will explore this method tomorrow and I will see which is the right method where I can add the property, and this property would then reflect the changes of the view here in the binding. So right now what we doing is just making it to true, which will apply to all the fields. Okay, that's what I'm doing. True, it'll apply to all the fields. So this is the solution at this point of time, replacing the complete view, and I don't want to touch this. So roll it back, the changes for my standard SAP controller. I should make a custom implementation. So this coding is something I need to deep analyze into each method and see where exactly I make the change to make it work for you. Yeah, for this requirement. So right now what we're doing is we made everything read only. At the same time, if you also want the particular field to be just a read-only field, not to take the data from even F4, let's say in this case activity type, what you can also do here is do this change. And I think I do have a better option as well for this. We can actually create a formatter and attach that formatter here based on the value help field, based on the field name. Okay, so let me just check. is on the field name, we can really make this change. So you can see here there is a name called field name property. Yeah, there's name called field name. So what I can use is I can do a formatting here. You all remember the formatter concept where you can change certain property of a field based on a need. So what I'll do is I'll create a formatter inside this. So new, maybe I'll create a formatter. So I don't know here there is any wizard available to create a formatter. Maybe I go to the parent Fiori app and just see in utils, do I have a formatter here? No, I don't have any formatter JS. I don't have any formatter. Okay, no problem. I'll come here and create a formatter.js. So I just go and create a new file, formatter.js. And now we just go back and find out the namespace for this project, and we can easily get the namespace over here. Okay, we do have formatter parse date ddmmyy. What is the namespace for my custom view? What is the namespace for my project? Let's go to component. This is the namespace, guys. This is the namespace for the root folder, which is web app here. So I come here and say jQuery.sap.declare and put the namespace dot folder name dot formatter file name, and then we just use this formatter equals to curly braces, change field type. Okay, and I say function, and in this I will have an input parameter, and I just have return equals to true by default right now. Okay, I'm just returning a true out of it by default. Missing semicolon, let's add a semicolon here. So that's my formatter file. Okay, I created a formatter file. Now let's load this formatter into this. So for XML view, you don't need to really write jQuery.sap.require. For XML view, you can directly come here and put your formatters. So where is our custom view? Let me go to the custom view here. Here is our custom view. And now what I will do is for our field value help only, I will try to attach a formatter. Okay. So I just come here and put curly braces. And in this put path. And in the path I put the field name, guys. This whole thing. This is the path. And then put comma formatter, and I just say dot formatter. Oh, sorry, we got to call the formatter function. So formatter is the name of the file, basically the whole path of it. Let me see, I'm not sure guys whether it will work or not, but let me just try calling this formatter completely, calling this formatter here, and dot its function. So function name, I'm not sure it will work also or not. We got to check this. I got to check this maybe. So what I'm trying to do is dynamically, before really assigning the value to value help only, I'm dynamically calling a formatter function, and this formatter function should receive the field name as an input parameter, and based on this field name what happens is it will we will decide in the formatter what to return. If the field name is for WBS element, return true. For all the other fields, return false. But I'm not sure again whether this will be invoked or not, because we don't have the object created for it into the controller. We need a controller to basically talk to the formatter function, the JavaScript function. But I got to check this. Let's try. Otherwise, we will just go to see tomorrow changing the controller code directly. Yeah. We'll try that out tomorrow. So let's see. And you see, I think it has got other problems introduced. You see, now the field itself is gone because of some weird changes. I don't know. So maybe we will check this tomorrow. How to only effect, how to get only this thing affected. So maybe right now just make it again back to the normal. So right now every field is only able to get the value from F4 only. Yeah, maybe in tomorrow's session I will go back and check, can we really make only WBS element field subjected to get values from F4. This is a difficult one if you have just a single input field which is statically created on the screen, we can really control a lot. But if the fields are being created not statically, they don't have an ID associated, they are created using this type of data models, you got to really make work in your controller. That example I may be showing it to you tomorrow. Let's move on to the next request. We need to remove saving favorites with the time or remove ability to save favorites entirely. So now if you see in the standard Fiori app which we have for timesheet, there is this option called favorites. So user don't want this favorites button. Yeah. So this is also a simple one. So what I do is come back to our extension and say tools, extensibility pane. And now we will wait for it to load, and you can see it's showing we have replaced the view completely with the custom view now. That's what it's showing, and you got this button now at the bottom, but it's there on the next screen. So maybe I just say create the one which we wanted to disable, this favorites button. I switch to back to the extensibility mode and now choose OK. I see that it's not able to select the favorites button. It's not selecting the favorites button, guys. Yeah, it's not able to select the favorites button, which means this button is not selectable here. Maybe we will just go back to the code and see where how exactly this favorite button is being created. So go to the view, custom view, and see how they have created this button. So we have this input field panel. This is the panel. Can also go to the outline tab to look at the structure of the view. It's taking so much of time to load. Maybe I just see how the bottom toolbar is created for the page. So this is a layout. So we have only two panels which are part of this view, guys. So only these two panels are part of this view. Rest of the content is coming from somewhere else, which means the toolbar at the bottom is coming from somewhere else. We got to check that from where it is coming. I think again it is coming from controller, the toolbar. They have done everything so dynamically. So let's look at the controller. And if you just look at the initialization, work list collection, favorites collection, you can see get favorites collection. I think in this they are getting and adding the toolbar. No, not really sure. I got to check this toolbar code as well, how this toolbar is coming. Let's see in S2 view. Do we see the toolbar in S2 view? How did they get this toolbar? Let's check this. S2, S3, 1. I don't see anywhere the toolbar, guys. How this toolbar is created for the views. Let's right click, inspect. We should see how it is created. So you can see here is the footer of the page and which page it belongs to. It belongs to view 3. So there is a footer of the page. In that footer we have the toolbar elements. Do we see this footer over here into the view? So we have s31.view. Let's look at if we have a page. Yes, we have a page and we have a content of the page, but we don't really see the footer, guys. So how the footer is designed, let's go back. I think it's also added dynamically. This is all done in the controller dynamically, guys. Even the footer is being added dynamically to the controller. Maybe I got to check this as well. How? I think definitely they are adding these buttons dynamically. Yes, you can see get header footer options. And in this, they are actually adding these buttons, see. And for this anyways, we do have an extension available for the controller. So what I will do is I will do an extension of the controller to actually adapt the changes for header and the footer area. So how do we do it? We come back again, go to tools, extensibility pane. Since the buttons are part of your controller, your custom controller, we got to change this. So let's come, and you can see here change header footer options. This is the hook where you really make the change. Say extend UI controller hook. Click on this button and it will create the code automatically in the custom controller. Say open extension code, and what you can see it has created a one more custom controller for this, and in the component JS it is writing the extension for this custom controller. Yes, this is what I wanted. You can see it's replacing the controller for the view. It's replacing the controller for the view now. Maybe I think we can use this custom controller for the view. I copy this whole name, go to our custom view and put that as our custom controller name. So let me come, and you see controller name here. I replace it with our custom controller. Okay, save this. So now this is our custom controller, guys. Okay, now you see here, let me just put a breakpoint debugger and save this. Let's go back and run this app once again. Press F12 before that and say refresh. It didn't hit the breakpoint. Maybe I just right click, refresh hard, cache and empty reload. It should hit the debugger because we have extended the controller. It should hit the debugger. So SAP UI controller, this controller, we are extending it. It should hit the debugger. So to change header and footer options, basically we are overwriting the hook points given by SAP. So SAP has already provided a controller hook method where they have given an exit point for us to make changes to it. And let's see if it hits the debugger. Yes, they are dynamically adding the footer. That's what this whole app is so dynamic, you know. They are really adding everything so dynamically. Maybe I got to see. So this time the footer itself has not come. It's really behaving little weird. See, this time whole footer is gone and this whole thing is gone. Okay, let me try running this once again. So you can see now the buttons are coming at least. Click on create. And here you see the buttons are gone on this screen, but actually it's not hitting my debugger as well. Maybe what I will do is I'll just put a console log here just to see at least if it is hitting my method. Custom header footer options console.log, and I also print this object. Okay, let me print this object, save this, press F12 and try to check this out. Refresh the page, keep clearing it. It really not hitting the method, guys. There is some problem. There is some problem. Okay, maybe I will show this tomorrow. I'm not really sure. Basically, for especially for this controller, it's little weird that the implementation is not working, especially in conjunction with the view which we have it here. So maybe I need to analyze little more about this controller over here, and I will share the information how they have really done it. So we really got to do implementation in this case for the controller. And what I really did here is, for this custom view which we have, I have put the controller name. Maybe I just switch it back, save this. Okay, I switch it back, save this, save it, and let's try last time. Okay, so now what we have it here is, in this we are replacing the whole S31 view with the custom view, but the controller is same. And now we have a controller extension which says use the existing controller this, but in extension to that also invoke the functionality of the custom controller. Okay, let's try with this what happens. So I press F12 one last time just to make sure what happens. Refresh the page. So now what happens is it first load the S31 controller and then it hits the one which we have written. So it's overriding the functionality. Oh, button list helper is not defined now. There is, and you can see hitting the custom header footer option. See guys, hitting the custom header footer option and object. This is the object it is printing. It has got actually all the buttons. Button list you have got. All the buttons you have got into it. So you see, this is the favorites button. So if I remove from this button list this last item, the favorites button will be removed, I guess. Yeah, and then finally return this object out of this again. Okay, so let me come back to our code, and what I do is go to our extension controller, and I will just, maybe I press F12 once again just to see what was the object. Object was having a button list array. In this button list array I was having 3 buttons. So the one which I wanted to remove is favorites. So let's go back and say o dot button list. It's case sensitive. Button list dot, oh sorry, splice function from removing an element from an array 2, 1, starting from position 2, remove one element after that, and then say return O. That's it. Save it. Let's look the response. So what happened is, SAP has given a hook point to change the header and footer options. We have overwritten this particular method. This, we are basically writing the functionality of this. If you want to see how does it work, so if you just come and I'll show you what it does is, in the standard SAP controller, they have given an extension point. They have given a point from where they're calling the custom method which we implemented. So if you just come here and search for it, you see here what they've done. SAP has given us an extension point by foreseeing that possibly we may, or somebody may want to change the header and footers. So what they do is they check if this custom method is implemented. If yes, they replace this object with the object which we will return. Now, since we implemented an extension for the controller, what happens? This method got implemented. In this method, we are getting the argument of object which has all the buttons. Now, in this, from this argument, we deleted one of the button which was favorites button, and finally returning the list of the buttons. This object which has a list of buttons, only the initial 2. The last one which was there for favorites has been removed. And finally, when this code gets merged, here it gets the final set of buttons, and that is set as a header and footer options. Save this. We are ready. So now let's go back and check. You will see favorite buttons will be removed. So that's how you implement controllers extension points, by overriding the feature of the controller. And yes, you can see guys, the favorites button is gone. This was exactly the second requirement was. And I am sure now, I think I can also show you this. Yes, no, it's right now for all the fields. So I think there has to be a solution for this as well. Maybe I'll just give a last shot for this one. I go to the actual controller, and here I'll see the method which was used to get the list of all the fields. It was get field info, something like that, right? So get field, get fields info. Mhm. It was, you can check it over here. Yes, here it is. This is the method, guys. Get profile fields. I am overwriting this now. So let me try overwriting this. I copy this, come to our custom controller, put a comma, and when I do this, what happens is this implementation, what I am writing, will be replaced by the implementation in the parent class. Okay. Now we come here and add a new field here called Joker. True. And let's do the binding. So now it will set the model, and let's do the binding in our custom view with the Joker field for all the fields. I think it should work now, guys. So this is our custom S31 view. Oops, I don't see the fields. Yeah, they are inside the panel. Here they are the fields, and let's bind it, the Joker field, with accounting model one last time. It should work, I think. Done. Saved it. Let's come back, refresh the page. Still we should see all the fields should be, when I do an F4, all the fields should be there with F4 only. Yes, yes, you can see now the binding is done, guys, and this is not with hard coded F4, it's with binding. Okay, which is actually good. So now what is happening is we actually overwritten the method of the actual controller. So actual controller which SAP delivered has a method called get profile fields. This method is actually responsible for getting these fields on the screen, these fields. Yeah, we have overwritten this method by copying the parent method into the child. Now this implementation is getting executed what we written. Now we can tweak it based on our need. So let me debug and show you how we can really tweak it. So I want the change for Joker to be done only for WBS element field. So right now I just make it false, and then I will loop. Okay, or maybe I can just use this as temp Joker. Let me create a variable called temp Joker. So I just go on top and create a variable called temp Joker equals to false. And what I do is I will write a comparison here to see the field name. And if the field name is related to my WBS element, I make the temp Joker as, yeah. So I check if n is equals to, it's related to my WBS. I don't know what will be this. Okay, I don't know right now. If the field name is something this, I am going to write temp Joker equals to true. That's what I'm going to do. Else I'm going to make temp Joker to false. This is how you can control, guys. We can debug this. We are overriding the SAP standard behavior by overriding only this method which is responsible for creating the fields. This is little tricky. Again, you need to get into the JavaScript depth of it, find out which is the probable method. This is a very special timesheet app where they're creating these fields dynamically. Okay, so now I can debug. I can go back, press F12 and debug this. Okay, so let's go to sources, and it's S31 custom 1 dot controller, control O S31 dot custom 1 dot controller, and we got, you can see this get profile fields method. I set up a breakpoint here and just refresh. You will see the breakpoint will hit because it's now, you have overwritten the functionality which SAP gave for get profile fields by your custom controller functionality. So you can see it is hitting the breakpoint. We will just come down to the point where we are looping over the fields and just comparing it. You can see here if condition, our if condition, press F8 and you see it has come here. Now let's look at the value of n. It's attendance absence type field right now. Let's proceed. I don't want that. Then you see activity type, proceed. I don't want that. WBS element. This is the field I want. So, but again, n is the label for the field. What I'm looking is more concrete property, which is a technical name, which is, you can see field name is POS ID. POS ID is the technical name of the field, which is language independent. I can use this as a comparison. So if my technical field name, which is F, okay, if the value of F is equals to POS ID, which means it's a WBS element field for which mark the joker as true, remaining things mark the joker as false. And now we are just setting this joker property with the temp joker, and we also have a custom view which is having a binding with the joker property in this data model. And at the end of the day, what you will actually see, only WBS element field will become a F4 only field. This is a very special timesheet app, guys, where you see all the examples: replacement of controller, replacement of view, extension points. All three examples you see under one hood. Very special example. That's why I took this example, a very real-time case. You can see real-time examples, and we are taking it. So let's see now. So you see now the favorite button is gone because of your hook method implementation of the controller. I am able to type the values here. This is also kind of cool. Let's look at WBS element now. And I click. Wow, you see WBS element. Now I can really cannot enter the data. The moment I click only for this field, it's just F4 only. But activity type is still, I can enter the data for the other two fields. Now I want for activity type field to be only read only fields. I can also control that, guys, easily. Let me show you how. So you can see here read only field. You can see read only, lowercase equals to true, else false equals to true. Something of this sort they've done here for the read only field, r dot lowercase. So they're basically using this r property, read only property, to control this. So we can also write a case here if it's activity type. Now I don't know what value will come for activity type, so we can also debug once again. Press F12 and just do a refresh. We can debug once again to see what will be the value technical ID field name for your activity type field. Only for that we make it read only. Yeah, so it has come here. Temp. Never use these variable name like temp joker and like this. Use some proper variable names. Now we got to really check for this, guys. Press F8. So first field is AWART. What is it? It's absence type. Second field is activity type. What's the technical name? It's L star. And let's see what is the value of R. R is false. Read only is false. I will override this. I will make R as true. So this field will become read only. If the field is L star, make it read only. Simple. Field is L star, make it read only. So I just say if F is equals to, what was it? Let me check. L star, make it R value equals to true. Make it read only. Simple. Save this. Let's go back and check the response. So now only for read only field it will make it. You can as well set the value, guys. So as I told you, you can also set the default values. You know, you have a OData service getting you some values. You can actually default it as per your need. So now you come down. Oops, looks like some terrible mistake. It's not really working out. Got to refresh and check this once again. So if the field is L star, I'm making R value as read only equals to true. What's the problem? I think it is string, guys. You got to push a string value in this, not the boolean value. It's supposed to get a string value, r property. Let's try, because I saw the comparison was done on fly with the string value. Yeah, let's try now. And voila, you see the activity type field has become completely read only here. So we completed the second requirement also, where I want to make this field as only read only fields, do not want them to enter manually by changing the value, and this should also be defaulted from the work list. Okay, so activity type should be defaulted from the work list. So I think this, since I think this um, data is not pre-populated, it's not working, but you can also hard code the value if you choose. Activity type I want to hard code with to holy. Okay, so in case of this, I want the value, you see this v value, I want this value to be holy. Let's do that, save it, and you can come back, refresh the page. Ideally it should be the value, guys, which is coming from the OData service. So you can just see which is the OData service they are really calling in, make a call to it, get the right value for the user, and you see it got hard coded now, activity type to holy. So that's how you can achieve these requirements. I think I got a little confused with the earlier case of where I replaced the whole controller and it didn't really work. Now in this example, what happens is we have a standard controller, and this custom controller is overriding its functionality. So wherever you have same method name, what is implemented in the parent controller is being overridden, but wherever you have hooks, this is exactly hook points where your implementation is invoked in middle of SAP implementation. Yeah, so both requirements can be achieved in either ways. Yeah, or basically you got to decide which option to use for which approach. So sometimes you will see SAP will give you hook points where you can make your changes, and sometimes you got to override the SAP delivered method with your method. Don't override the whole controller, that will not be good approach. Okay, so we completed 3 requirements. There are some more requirements, we will talk about them. It's in the approval app. We will try to implement these requirements in next session. So any questions before we close today's class? Anybody? No questions? Now we have one more requirement, cannot enter the time for multiple days in one time. We will see this, address this requirements on the first, it's on the first view where the user is picking up the dates from the calendar control. So we will look at this also, how to address this requirement in the next chapter. Yeah. So this is how you can really change it. Timesheet app is a little unique combination, because here you have a very unique example of these fields being built by coding by the dynamic fields. These are dynamically created fields. They're not static fields like this one. If it's a real static field, it's simple. But if it's, little tricky like this, you will find it little difficult, like we saw it in today's session. So we'll see addressing more requirements in next class. Till then, have a nice day and goodbye. I will also post this requirement document, guys, in our blog, so you can look into it. Yeah, so please try to do these requirements on your own. Give a shot. I think the new ones which you have, and maybe give a shot to it. You have a free trial available. You don't need a SAP server. Just try for it, and then maybe in next class I'll show you the solution for them. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.